Hello everyone, it is the Canadian Futures Trader here. It is April 1st, 2021. Welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. If this is my first video of yours you are seeing, I encourage you to subscribe. I started out documenting my progress through the various funded trader evaluation programs several months ago. And since then I've kind of put up some other types of videos as well. One being reviews of some of the funded trader programs like we're going to do today. So today we are going to talk about UProfit Trader. Several of you have either emailed me or mentioned in the comments and asked, hey, have you ever been with UProfit Trader? What do you think of them? Can you do a review of them? Now, I will be honest, I've never traded with them, so this review will be more going through their website. I'm going to point out kind of the pros and cons as far as I see it relative to some of the other options you have. And I will say that will probably give these guys a try, actually. It's not going to be right away. It's not going to be this week. It's not going to be tomorrow. But probably within the next month, I will definitely give these guys a try. Now that I've been introduced to them, mainly through you guys asking me about them. You know, when I get, 10 or more messages asking about them, they are obviously something that people are interested in. So let's get started. So this is their website. Typical, not in a derogatory way, but just, your usual funded trader program. You can scroll down here. We're not going to go through every single detail here. First thing I'm going to try to pop to is what account levels they have. So if you've seen my channel, if you watch the other videos, you know that I typically go on the bigger side, the 100K, the 150K, 250K accounts. So if I was to try out, I would honestly most likely be going for the 100K account. So I'm going to focus on that mainly going through the site. I'm kind of looking at this as if I was going to be signing up. So 100K account, 315 monthly. I would say this is pretty much middle of the road. I'm not going to bring up all the other sites and do an elaborate comparison, but in my experience, 315 is pretty much, it's going to be similar to a OneUp Trader, an Earn to Trade. TopStep's a little bit pricier, but it's right in the same ballpark. And I think these all pretty much are, from my experience. I know the 50K is, so etc. These are also fairly standard. I would say the target is typically $6,000 on a 100K account. 12 contracts seems about in line. I think TopStep goes a little bit light on these. Like I think their 100K account is only 10 contracts. I know their 50K account is only 5, so that would make sense. But most of them are 12 contracts. Daily loss limit 2,200. Pro drawdown 3,000. So pro drawdown is basically your trailing drawdown, like when you're going to actually get bust out. $3,000 drawdown. And minimum trading days, this is the first thing that stands out to me that's actually a good thing. And again, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, like actually a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing relative to some of the other programs. Only 10 days. I'm a fan of the 10-day versus 15. I feel like most people, they've either busted or they've passed by day 10. And, we all know what happens when you get to day 10 and you've already reached your goal. You're just putting in like a trade every day just so it counts as a trading day. I know that's what I did. So I'm a fan of the 10 days. I think this is one of the things that sold me. I was like, you know what? I'd consider giving this a try. It shouldn't make a big difference, honestly, what's 10 days versus 15 in the big scheme of life. But, hey, it worked on me. I like the 10 days. So let's keep going down. Worth mentioning here, pro drawdown, so just your trailing drawdown, think of it that way, is updated at the end of day. So that's also another pro for you guys. So if you don't know, some of the programs, they update their drawdowns as of every trade. So, if you're in a trade, let's say you make $1,000 and then lose 500. Well, you're still up 500, but your trailing drawdown was actually pulled up a full $1,000 with some of the other programs. With this one, it's just going to be based on your end of day balance. So if at the end of the day you're up 500, your trailing drawdown will move up 500. Some reviews here, got a little red star. All right, fair enough. Well, there's 634 reviews, so I'll leave that to you guys to read if you want. Real quick, minimum days, 10 days, no time limit. You can obviously take more than you want. Products and schedules is going to be the same as like any of the trading programs, so we're not going to get into it. Daily loss limit, we saw the numbers up above. Live account rules we are going to look at in a second. I think this is important. I think most people don't look at these when they sign up, especially when you're new. You just see 100K account, 10 days, get funded, and you think that's it. You get funded and then you're off and running. No, there's actual rules regarding the live account. So we'll look at the rules and we'll look at kind of the withdrawal rules as well. Maximum size, stay within your maximum contract evaluation. This is one I did not look at in advance. Some of them have a scaling plan during the evaluation and some don't. I know they have a scaling plan. I just opened it up here in a new tab. Each new account, let me think here. I want to see if this is below. You can see, no, it looks like you can go full contracts right from the start. So this is in the evaluation phase. Once you get into the funded phase, there is a scaling plan. So that is right in line with like a OneUp Trader, for example. Trading platforms, again, fairly standard. You start with Rhythmic, and then you can tack on NinjaTrader as well. So guys, that is it. So I like the pricing, I would say, is middle of the road. You know, the 10 days thing, I think, is a pro. The account sizes, I kind of wish they had a little bit bigger ones. You know me, I like the bigger ones, but fair enough, no worries. And the rules, I would say, again, also just normal rules, guys. There's nothing fancy here. So let's get to some of the other things that stood out. So I came to their Faqs. We're going to go into most of these, so I'm not going to go through each of these here, but if you do go to their Faqs, you can read all about the different things. So let's look at, so withdrawals. This is always one I am most interested in. Basically, big pro, you can withdraw every single week if you want. This compares to like LeeLoo, which you can only withdraw once a month, and it's the last week of the month. Most of the other ones you can withdraw weekly, but I like seeing that it's weekly. And there's no maximum withdrawal amounts, so assume there's no minimums as well. I didn't see it on here. Basically, submit a request to get paid the following Tuesday. Now, they do have something called the safety zone, and I would say if you're interested in these guys, come read this, because I'm going to do my best to explain it on a very high level, but it gets like a little tricky, you know, blah, blah, blah. So basically, through day 41, you're kind of on probation. You're in the safety zone, if you will. Essentially, if you do a withdrawal in the first 41 days, you're getting a 50-50 split. If you do it after day 41, you're getting an 80-20 split. So each of the programs kind of has their way to kind of discourage you from doing withdrawals too early. They want you to build up a balance before you start withdrawing money, and this is their way of doing it. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and if anything, this was another thing I would consider good. You do have access to your money. I mean, if you know, day 2 of your funded account, hit a home run and have a big winning trade, you can withdraw. Just know that you're only getting a 50-50 split. So again, encouraging you to stay 41 days. I know some people won't like that, but hey, that's the rules, and you get to decide if you want to play by them or not go with these guys and go with one of the other ones. So just for comparisons, like OneUp, for example, there's a minimum. You have to build up a buffer, essentially, and it depends on your account size and all that. So for example, the 100K, I think it's $5,000. So you have to have a $5,000 buffer before you're even able to withdraw. So this one is definitely more attractive in that sense. Like, the money's there if you want it in the first, you know, immediately. LeeLoo, you have to trade 30 days before you're even eligible for a withdrawal, and then you have to wait for the next withdrawal period. And remember, they only do withdrawals once a month. So just 2 examples. I don't think this is actually a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. You have access to your money, but you'd be better off waiting 41 days. So they do a little example, you know, if you withdrew this much and blah, blah, blah. So come read this if you want to get down and dirty in the specifics. Trailing drawdown. Honestly, I would say, again, I don't really want to read through it all. It works the same as most programs. It trails up to your starting balance, and then from there, so this is like a 50K account. After that point, you're off and running, and anything you make is up and above the trailing drawdown. So there you go. It doesn't trail indefinitely. I would say most programs are like this. The exception would be, I know, a lot of the programs, or I should say some of the programs in the evaluation phase, the drawdown continues. Like LeeLoo, for example, the drawdown just continues to follow you all the way until you finish. But in their funded accounts, it does not. It works just like this. It stops at the break even. So just so you know, that is what that is. Let's see. And they explain, like, if you had like a losing day, obviously it doesn't keep getting pulled up. It only gets pulled up when you have winning days. All right, let's look at daily loss limits. Again, these are similar. I mean, this is all there is to it. They do have resets or restores for $99. That's right in line with everybody else. Daily loss limits, honestly, I forget what these are for some of the other programs. I tend to not like to hit them. So, but I would say they're similar. They're right in the same ballpark. If you're making your decision based on having the biggest loss limit, you probably should maybe fine-tune your trading. I'm not trying to, be discouraging, but I mean, so you should honestly have your own loss limits set that are more tight than these. There you go. Major news, so they have the calendar on here. Basically, once you're funded, you can't trade into major news reports. So again, these are the funded rules that I'm looking at kind of right here. So I can't remember if I saw if during the evaluation phase you had to be flat during news events. Honestly, I would just be flat during news events regardless, whether you're allowed to or not. Personal preference, again, if that's your thing, hey, maybe you like trading in the news, come read the specifics if you're allowed to. Again, this is just the rule for the live account. I kind of like to jump ahead. I'm assuming I'm going to pass. Let's look at the rules that I'm going to have to abide by once I pass. Scaling. So again, we mentioned already, you have your full clip available during the evaluation. That is great. Again, similar to OneUp. I'm a big OneUp fan. I've mentioned before. So right in line with that, you don't have to scale during the evaluation phase. Once you do get funded, let's look at the 100K account. Again, very similar to others. So until you make your first 2,000, you're going to be limited to 3 contracts. Then your next 4,000, you get 4, etc., and it moves up from there. Again, pretty standard. You can trade micros. People always seem to ask about micros, and I know I think it was TopStep. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. They kind of like goof this up, or they don't quite do it right. Like if your max was 12, you could only trade like 12 micros as well. I think they fixed that since then. I'm not 100% sure. I don't really trade the micros in these type of accounts, to be honest. So, and last thing that I want to point out, assignment fee. This is something you might not be familiar with in terms of it's usually kind of labeled in a different way. So before we look at the assignment fees, basically when you get funded, some of the programs you have to pay a monthly fee for data. So TopStep, they charge, it's a little bit over $100 per market. So if you want to trade a product that's a CME product and a product that's CBOT, CBOE, you're going to have to pay for each of those markets $100+ per market. Definitely kind of the worst deal. I'll give a red strike to TopStep on that. OneUp, you don't pay any fees. There's no fees for market data. LeeLoo, it's like $88, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, and just a 1 fee, you don't have to pay per market. Earn to Trade, honestly, I haven't really looked at them much lately. I have no idea what their fees are. So the way UProfit does it, they just charge you a one-time fee. There's no ongoing fees, which I like that, but there's a one-time fee. So again, looking at the 100K account, you're going to pay $250 assignment fee or activation fee, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, does this kind of suck? Yeah, I mean, you just spent $315 to do this evaluation, and now you have to spend another $250 to get your account assigned or activated. I don't love it, but in the long run, is this a better deal than paying a monthly fee? Sure, of course it is. So if you're in it for the long run, I think, this is a better deal. Do I love it? No. Whatever. You have to deal with it. You know the rules now. So I wanted to point that out just so people know. Again, it's one of those things where I think people just assume you get funded, you're off and running, and you're just making money and buying Lamborghinis and new houses on the beach. Not quite like that. You have to still abide by some rules. So just to recap, when you do get funded, you're going to have to pay this assignment fee one time, but at least then you don't have to pay a market date after that. You can do withdrawals every single week. I didn't look at the withdrawal methods. Usually it's wire transfer, bank transfer type of deal. Most places don't do PayPal or anything like that. So it's most likely bank transfer or wire, I should say. So you'll have to pay this. You will have to abide by a scaling plan, but that's pretty universal across all of the programs. I mean, it is actually universal. All of them have a scaling plan once you're funded. You will have to either wait till day 41 to withdraw your money if you want an 80-20 split, or you can withdraw before that and get a 50-50 split if you really want access to your money. So that kind of explains that. One thing I wasn't I didn't even look at. I want to see. So you get 100% of your first 8,000. Pretty similar to the other programs. I think some of them it's the first 9,000. No, maybe it's 8,000. Again, similar situations. So again, you can read the example because it has to do with all the safety net, and you get the first 100% of the first 8,000, but it's a 50-50 in the first 41 days. I don't want to get into all the math. You can figure it out here. They have a nice little calculation for you to figure out. So overall, what do I think? I mean, I kind of like it. I mean, it definitely has a few things that stand out. I'm a big fan of the 10-day thing. I already mentioned it, so that alone would kind of lean me more towards this than some of the others. The weekly withdrawals, I like that. Again, that's, not necessarily unique, but it is, knowing that that's available. I'm a fan of that. If you have we've all, been through the various programs. Some weeks you have like a big home run trade. It's nice to have access to that money pretty much, the next week you could be withdrawing that money. So rather than have to wait a month. So big fan of that. The fact that the drawdown is calculated at the end of the day, I think will be a perk for some people. I mean, it's a perk for myself as well, but I tend to not take a lot of trades, whereas some people tend to take a lot of trades. So if you take a lot of trades and have a lot of volatility in your P&L during the day, calculating your drawdown at the end of the day will be a benefit to you versus, one of the big disadvantages when it's just constantly trailing you is it's easier to hit. So I will most likely give these guys a try. Again, I kind of want to wait a little bit just for my own. I don't have the time to devote to it, and lately I found that when I try to, force a program and try to get through it and pass, I end up just busting because I just don't have the time to devote to it. But I'm kind of excited. I like it's like a new shiny toy for me to try out. So if you're interested, link down below. Check out UProfit Trader. As well, I will, as soon as I get into them, I will start making daily videos. I'll also put up an article on my site. Check out my site if you haven't, where I'll do a review and maybe I'll even recap kind of the pros and cons of what I mentioned in this video. I'll do a little article about it, and we will go from there. So check out UProfit Trader if you're interested. I mean, yes, I would say definitely give them a try.